So when clients were cancelling tours, as soon as we went into confinement, March 12th, clients were saying to me, we're cancelling our trip, but it's a postponement. We will be back to Toulouse. We want to visit Toulouse, but it's just a question of when. So people will come back. In terms of, for the Toulouse industry, in terms of our travellers, and if we look at our hotel occupancy, for example, that is roughly split 2/3 business travel, 1/3 leisure travel. So again, going back to what Mark was just saying about how the leisure travel will come back sooner, that's obviously good for us, but we really need to be attracting more of the leisure travellers to come to and experience our wonderful city.
And Penny, what are the prospects for this summer? We had, on the one hand, the Prime Minister encouraging all his compatriots to take their vacation here in France. On the other hand, we know that a lot of British people won't be coming this summer.
Sure. I think a lot, from a British perspective, a lot will depend what happens with the quarantine. And they've said they're going to review that every 3 weeks. So maybe the end of June, that will change. For sure, in the long term, Britain will not lose its love affair with France. And they will.
And southwestern France.
Southwestern France, exactly. And they will be coming back.
One of the emblematic products of Toulouse, you might call it, is its rugby team. Chris Bachmann, I know that they are asked players to take a pay cut because the suspension of matches has hit them hard. And they've also launched what they're calling a wall of solidarity, where fans can sponsor a brick inside one of the walls at the stadium. There is, again, this feeling, can the city, what's it been like in a city without rugby the last 3 months?
You're well informed, Francois. Francois and I have actually been to rugby games together, so we both know a little bit about this. I was at Stade Toulouse last week. I saw the president. He says that if rugby, basically, there hasn't been a rugby game for, since March, and it won't be until September at the earliest. This is the longest period that France has known without a rugby game of any sort since the Second World War. And right now, if the rugby does resume in September, how do you have a combat sport with a pandemic? It doesn't make sense. You're looking at maybe the wealthiest rugby league in the world, which is France, having 7 to 14 of its clubs going bankrupt. And that's what the president himself saying. That's not me saying it. But basically, Toulouse Rugby Club was waiting for a quarterfinals in the European Cup. It was supposed to happen, I guess, this month now. It's not going to happen anytime soon. That was thousands of fans coming over from Ireland. It was lots. It would have been a sold-out team. Rugby is part of the fabric. It's part of the morale. The team is actually French champions. And the fact that this pandemic has added, I guess you can say, the morosity in this region. Obviously, we talked about aviation, but tourism, of course, and the rugby is extremely important down here. It's probably the one region of mainland Europe where rugby is more important than football. So not having the rugby, it kind of affects morale here. You talk to people about it, it's an important part of life here. It would be the same thing in Liverpool for football. And nobody knows when rugby will resume. And it's very important for the local economy. And it's very important basically for the morale of people who are fans of rugby who are down here. And I know that Mark is amongst those who is a fan of rugby.
Yeah, there's a big nostalgia for the days when you didn't have social distancing. I noticed at Penny Dickinson on VE Day when you posted on Instagram a picture of the Place du Capitole, the big main square in Toulouse, awash with people who were celebrating the Allied victory then. Gosh, you don't need to go back to 1944 or 45, right? You can just go back to January and be nostalgic.
Exactly. And that square, Place du Capitole, it's the heartbeat, it's the pulse of our city, and it's made for gathering people together to celebrate what is happening in the city. We've just been talking about rugby, whenever Stade Toulousain goes out to greet its fans, the square is awash with red and black. It was very strange in confinement just to see it a little bit like a ghost town, but now we've had the restaurants, the cafes are back opening. People are starting to come out of confinement, starting to refine their way in life. Some of the school pupils are back now. So little by little, the really enablers of getting the economy going are starting to get in place.